heard from my partner, and welcome to our live stream, my Francisco, and a huge thank you to Francisco for joining us so late from California, and we really appreciate it. We really appreciate it. And Francisco is our go-to DIY astronomy wizard, and we are all obsessed with 3D printed gear models.
Yeah, so I've had 3D printers for a while. I've used them for various hobbies of mine. And so when I started getting into astronomy and astrophotography, it really made sense for me to use it to solve problems that, little things that I thought I could make my life a little bit better. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's job running. You brought your modified SV535 with EAF upgrade, right? This is the build our community went crazy for. Let's see it.
Yeah, so this is the SV535, which has been a really fun telescope to use. Personally, I am not good at manually focusing telescopes. I never have been, and ever since I learned how to use autofocus with these electronic focus motors, that's pretty much my go-to by default now. And so, yeah, as soon as I got the SV535 from you guys, I started testing it with like some small planetary cameras, and I really wanted to be able to autofocus. So I've designed this whole bracket here that anyone can just grab the files off my website, deepskylab.org, and they can just 3D print it themselves. It was a fun process. I have a lot of like failed attempts. There was probably like 10 different iterations that I had to go through. But luckily, 3D printing is like pretty fast, especially when you're doing prototypes, to get to the final version, which, has like a nice embossed logo on it. And it'll accept the focus motors from either the Red brand or from the Gemini focusers. So it'll take either one of these focus motors and they'll fit on here. It was really fun doing the design. So I'm actually going to share my screen for a second. Let me share. Oh, sorry.
I'm here.
Yeah, here. Let me share my screen really quick. So this is, I'm just going to add this. Okay. Can you make that a little bit? So I added that second. Yeah, there you go. So this is my CAD software. It's called Autodesk, and it's free for people to use it for personal use, which is what I consider this to be. And in here, you can create, these 3D models. And so I sketched out roughly what I wanted the design to be, and then I just worked on it. And this was it's upside down. But yeah, this was the file as I have it in AutoCAD. And from here, I can send it to my 3D printer, which usually lives just over my shoulder right here. And about 45 minutes later, I've got a file that's ready to go. So the cool thing about this is, like I said, anyone can, if they want one. The files are on deepskylab.org. And then all you have to do is, I have links to everything. All you have to do is buy one of these little kits I got these from Amazon, anywhere, and they just include the little sprocket and then the belts that you need, and then you can make it. So all in all, including the cost of the plastic, most people will probably spend about $7 or $8 to build EAF bracket for their SV535. And so I have a video about it on the channel, actually, when I did my review of the SV535, which I really do love this tiny little telescope. I have a whole discussion about how to set it up and how you actually install it. But essentially, slide over, and then you use these two bolts here to tighten it onto the telescope itself. When I first got it, I was like, man, I don't know how I'm going to do an EAF bracket, because for your, where is it? I'm sure I have it here somewhere. You guys did an EAF bracket for the SV555, and you have it sitting underneath, and it's this really nice metal bracket here. And this is the kit. You guys include this with the SV555. And so I was like, okay, I like having the bracket, and I see, you can use the belt and the cog. I basically borrowed that technology from the kit I got from your SV555. And I just figured out, I took measurements. So I just used some like digital calipers, which everyone should have a pair of digital calipers. If they don't, they're really cheap. Buy yourself a pair, and they just tell you, measurements. And I just measured, how big is the tube? How far out can it be? Yeah, and then it probably like 45 minutes worth of design work, and I made this file. But no one else has to recreate it if they don't want, because they can just go get it and print it out for themselves.
Oh my God, that's so cool. That looks incredible. And your measurement is very useful, I think, during this DIY experience, right? And
Yeah,
also,
absolutely.
yeah, thank you. And what does this EAF model do? And how did it change your astrophotography? And what was the biggest challenge during your DIY experience? You can share with us here.
Yeah, so the EAF modules, they're made by a bunch of different companies. They're just these cubes, and they take USB in, so you can connect them to your computer or to your controller. And on the other side, they just have a spinning output, right? And what this does is it allows you to adjust the focus on the telescope using a computer. And when you do that, the computer can manually move the focus a little bit, take a picture, and see how big the stars are. And then it'll do that like 10 or 15 times, and it'll figure out, okay, if you want the tightest focus, where the stars are the smallest, you want the focus motor set at this position. So it allows you to not have to worry about focus ever. And focus will change throughout the night depending on the temperature and things like that. And so when you're setting your automatic runs for a focus motor like this, you can actually have it like redo the autofocus every 30 minutes if you want, because you're not doing it manually. So it takes a minute or two, but you don't have to be at the telescope to focus your telescope. And to me, when I'm doing, when it gets really cold or whatever, I don't really want to go outside. So I can just say, hey, do an autofocus every 30 minutes, and it'll spin this belt. It'll rotate the focus wheel, which is right here on the 535, and it'll find that perfect focus point every single time. And then you just never have to, I just never worry about focus nowadays. And I think for a lot of beginners, finding that perfect focus can be a bit of a pain. So if you have a setup like this, you just don't think about it anymore. It becomes not a problem. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing, my professor. Yeah, that's so cool. And yeah, so now I see you have do the file and file, right? The two models.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Yeah, that's so cool.
I love good
Oh my God.
555. I think this is the one I use mostly when I go traveling. This one goes with me almost everywhere because it's built like really sturdy, like it's really strong. I have a lot of other telescopes to choose from, but I don't like traveling with a lot of them because they feel so like delicate, like I'll break them. This one never feels that way. It feels very sturdy, very strong. So I like traveling with this one.
Oh yeah, thank you, my Francisco. And let's take one viewer's question. I'm a beginner. Or what's the earliest and cheapest mode I can do right now? You can give us a suggestion.
Yeah. So actually, if you don't have a cooled camera yet, I think a lot of people will start with like a DSLR, right? So a lot of people will take a normal camera like this, and they'll use it to, they'll put a eyepiece adapter on it, and they'll attach it to a telescope. One of the probably cheapest modifications you can do is what this one has. It actually has, it's called a thermoelectric cooler. So this device, you plug it into USB, and it makes the backside of it get very, very, very cold. And on an old camera like this, it'll actually cool the sensor down. These cost about $10, maybe a little bit more than that. And it does require a little bit of modification to your camera, but on older cameras like this, people aren't very precious about them anymore. So I actually have a full series of experiments where if you cool a camera like this, it actually will perform almost as well as some of the more modern astrophotography cameras. And it's full APS-C size. So like this is a fun modification for someone to get started with. Yeah, but things like that are kind of fun. Oh, I see one of the questions asking if I'm an engineer in real life. I love that question. No, I think in another life, I probably would have been like either an electrical or a mechanical engineer. I really like that. My real life is a lot more boring than that. I do product management, so I'm a manager essentially. I get to help people build really cool things, but I don't get to build cool things in my real life. So when it comes to the YouTube channel or to my hobbies, I love modifying and making things better. And to me, the scientific method and actually using data is essentially the only way I know how to do it, because if you don't see a change in the data, then you shouldn't do the thing. So that's sort of the history behind why the YouTube channel is sort of built out the way that it is. I love that question. One other thing that I've been working on in the sort of DIY space, there's this really cool little mount that you can get called a T-Seek, and it's a tiny harmonic mount. The problem with this mount is it is all 3D printed. Every single part of it is 3D printed. I like 3D printed things, but I feel like for a mount, you probably want something a little bit sturdier. So I've actually been making my own metal parts to replace some of the plastic parts on this. So what started out life as like a plastic enclosure like this, I then modeled it in CAD, just like I did with that focus bracket for the SV535. And then I sent it off to have it machined out of aluminum. So I think with some basic skills, learning how to measure, learning how to put stuff into a CAD software, I think the sky's the limit for most people. I think more than they think they can. But yeah, and that's actually leads me to like one of the things I really like about SVBONY specifically is you guys don't try and limit what people do with your products. There's a lot of brands in the world, in astrophotography and astronomy specifically, that like limiting what you can do with the thing that you bought, and that always bothers me. But SVBONY doesn't limit what you do. Like I can build these, cool EAF brackets for their telescopes, and they're not going to yell at me. You guys are as excited about me building stuff like this as I am. So I really appreciate that. As a brand, SVBONY is very open and welcoming to people, trying to make everything a little bit better. So that's really cool about you guys.
Yeah, thank you, my Francisco, my professor. Your solution has inspired many clients for our viewers, and we plan to put your website link on our official website for
cool.
our clients to use. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. I would love that.
SVBONY is like SVBONY is like we have known each other for ages, for so many years. Many of your ideas have helped us realize greater product value. Yeah.
Good. I'm glad. And also, I really love, I love working with you guys on some of these things. And for people that don't know, like sometimes they'll reach out and look for, for feedback and stuff like that. And as someone that actually uses these things every night, I love that you guys get feedback from real users, not just from, a group of people that maybe won't use it ever. Like you guys take feedback from real users. And so anyone that's in like the SVBONY Facebook groups, I know you guys are in there all the time talking to real users. I love that about your brand. You guys actually try and take feedback from people, and that's really, really cool.
And also, let's check comments right now. Do you know anyone working on do you know how to reply this question?
Yeah. Do I know anyone working on a jailbreak of the ASI Air so you could purchase an SVBONY camera? I think there are a couple people that have reached out to me in the comments of some of my YouTube videos and said that they've figured out how to make things like that work. But they're also not the only astrophotography controller in town. There is also like the Stella Vita unit. This one doesn't care what camera you connect to it, doesn't care what focus motor you connect to it. So there are other options out there. But as far as the ASI Air specifically, I think if you do some Googling, you might find some forum posts that might guide you down that direction.
Yes, we value the experience of our customers. We grow together. We are not just a student and customer, the experience, the relationship. The relationship between us, I think, is the family and also a partner. We grow together. And if it can only be used with satellite Vita, not with the SR,
Correct.
Yeah, it can only be used with here. Yeah. And also one more question, again, the last question. And one last quick tip. What's the best tool you recommend for every DIYers?
What's the best tool I recommend for what now? Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Just during this, during your DIY experience, I think just like the measurement, I think it's very helpful.
For measuring, yeah. So there is no best tool. I think a pair of calipers like this that you can put in metric and standard, so it'll do millimeters and it'll do. Finding a pair that's plastic, these are. I don't have any worries about putting this right up against some glass. Like, it's not going to scratch glass. A lot of people have metal ones of these, which are good, but I find the plastic ones to be super, super useful. And if you can get them with a digital screen like this, that's really helpful. You can do, excuse me, you can do like depth. So it'll actually, like, there's this thing that comes out the back. You can measure depth. You can measure the outside of a thing. You can also measure the inside of holes using this side. I love calipers so much that I actually usually keep, let me check my backpack. Yeah, I keep like a pair of cheap ones. These are like $3 or $4. They're not digital. They're just like very simple. But I keep these in my backpack because when I'm out in the field, if I'm doing astrophotography, sometimes things like back focus really matter. And this will help make sure like you can always measure. And these are also plastic. So these live in my backpack and they go with me almost everywhere I go. So a nice pair of calipers. And by nice, I just mean that they're probably plastic. They have a digital readout. And then a travel pair of calipers if you're doing astrophotography out in the field. So you know, is my spacing correct? Like that. That would be the tools that I would highly recommend everyone use. And then if you want to get into cool stuff like, designing focus motor brackets, you can use those same calipers to measure how big the hole is and things like that. So these are really helpful.
Thank you for sharing, my Francisco, our professor here. That is very useful measurement. I think I also will have a try the next time, and also our viewers can also have a try. This measurement can really work with very helpful. And my Francisco, the SV580 is currently undergoing testing and is expected to ship you within the next couple days. Once you receive it, you can compare its imaging quality with the SV555. We also look forward to receiving some of your photos so we can use them in our marketing materials.
Absolutely. I am so excited for that. I don't have a telescope that's in that class range right now. I've got a couple of smaller scopes, so like the 555 and the 535, and then I go straight up to like a 110 millimeter, like 770 millimeter focal length telescope. I don't have anything in that sort of 80 millimeter range. So I'm really excited to get that and take a look at it. And from some of the pictures you all have shared with me, it looks like it's going to be a really, really good scope. So absolutely, I'll make sure to send you guys really high quality images of what I'm able to get with that. And yeah, thank you so much for sending that over to me. And I look forward to sending you guys back, a bunch of feedback and all this cool stuff.
Yeah, that 8 millimeter caliber is a blind spot for your equipment. We developed the right product. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also,
it's a perfect
our
stuff.
viewers. Yeah, and also I think our viewers is also very curious and excited to wait for your testing for our SV580 and this our SV555. We are all waiting for you here. So we hope you have a good weather. And Francisco, that is very incredible. Thank you so much for sharing your work with us, especially at this late hours. Where can our viewers follow your some social media?
Yeah.
Ask your social media.
Yeah, so primarily I do about weekly content on YouTube covering everything from product reviews to like really old astrophotography technology. That's DeepSkyLab on YouTube. I also have an Instagram. If you search up DeepSkyLab, you'll find me on there as well. And there I usually post stuff like from the field, or if I'm doing weird imaging at some cool campsite or something, I'll post up pictures there. And then obviously for the files that you want for the cool focus brackets, that's at deepskylab.org. But any of those places, come say hi. And if anyone watching wants me to test anything specifically with that cool new SV580, send me a message. I like collecting user feedback on what you all want to see me test with it. So yeah, let me know if there's anything cool you guys want to see me test, and yeah, it'll be fun.
Yeah, I already follow you in Ins here. I already follow you. Thank you
Good.
so much.
Thank you so much.
Creativity, yeah, your product creativity has also attracted many of our colleagues to become your fans. You know, yeah, our colleagues is your fans here. We'd love to have you back for a quick mode stream later. To everyone, drop a telescope to thank you for our Francisco, and killer sky to all of you here. So good night, Francisco. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your time. All right.
Have a sweet dream, my friend. Have a sweet dream.
Bye.
Yeah, enjoy your time.